I'll be in just a little bit. I got to eat some dinner, so I'm going to be a little bit late coming in.
No, man, don't worry about it. That's fine. You get back here when you can. So, Booth, I'm going to go ahead and mute you.
I'll jump in just a little bit. Yep.
All right, we're good. We're good, man. Whew, we are already having a busy discussion over here on Caliber Corner, episode number 137. And today we're going to talk about the idea of prepping in a community versus solo. I mean, a lot of us know what we need for prepping. We know our food, we know our water, we know our ammo. But when it comes to the person part, the human element, is it better to think about doing this as a community, as a group, whether it's the people from your gun club or the people in your neighborhood, or you better just to fly solo? And so we'll have a discussion on that this evening. And then we're also going to talk about 38 Super. And so these two topics for tonight are topics that have come from the 25,000 subscriber giveaway. They're suggested topics from viewers. And so we want to definitely cover those topics because I think they're pretty relevant, especially these days when things have just been a little odd out there, I would say. You know, and a lot of times you got to rely on yourself or maybe your family or the people you know. But before we recognize all those people watching out there on the interwebs, let's go ahead and let the panel introduce themselves. So starting off with Foos. Foos, are you ready, man? You ready to give us an intro, or are you busy?
I am good to go. Hold on.
All right, so Foos will be back in a sec. All right, Foos, we'll go ahead and let Gizzard Gary. Oh, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. Cool.
I'm Foos. I'm a USPSA shooter, small ammo manufacturer. This COVID shit's been keeping me damn busy. Sorry for cussing, but hey.
Well, it's powerful times call for powerful language, I guess. I don't know. And I will attest the ammo is great stuff. I burned through at least 1,000 rounds, if not more. I'm already on my second batch of 1,000 right now, and it runs good. It runs really good. It's a nice light shooting round, and it's got a little punch behind it, though, so it's good stuff. All right. Okay, and also joining us from the great land of Kansas is Gizzard Gary. Gizzard Gary, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Thanks for the invite. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an older guy who just got into handguns and stuff 5 years ago, so I am a late bloomer, learning as I go. So I appreciate being in on these things so I can pass on some info and I can learn just as much. So thanks again.
Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Also joining us, we've got Squib. Squibload, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Having dinner. Everything's better with ranch dressing. I think the topic is a really good topic because during all this COVID garbage, if you're a prepper, this has been a good exercise. Were your preps enough? Were you able to adapt or improvise your preps for the situation? And if not, what can you learn from this? And if this comes up again, will you be ready? Or can you take what you've learned and use that for maybe something else, like a natural disaster or financial issue or whatever it is? So I think the topic tonight is really appropriate for the times we're in.
I just want to say real quick, be on point and have all of your ducks in order, whether it's financial or whatever, because we sold our house and moved during the peak of all this stuff, and it was incredibly scary for us. There were bank delays. There were delays with my moving truck. There was a lack of supplies. I moved into a place and kind of weaned down what I had before I moved, and so I didn't have a lot of stuff here before we got moved in. I really did, for the first time, feel kind of vulnerable, which is crazy to think, but luckily where I'm at, I mean, there was adequate food supplies in the grocery stores, and I was able to kind of restock back up and not have to, touch my emergency food buckets, right? But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So, Roland, Klein, what's going on, man?
I'm good. I'm not really that much of a prepper, but I'm more of I was raised by people that grew up in the Great Depression in Oklahoma, so I have a month or two's worth of food in my house all the time, and I'm into guns and shit, so I already had all that. So.
All right. So, Klein, you're a bit of a knife maker, right? Do you want to let us know about your trade or where we can find what your products that you sell? Yeah.
I do all my stuff on Instagram, typically either at Klein Knives or at Klein Knives Catalog. If you just want to see pictures of knives, that's the place to go to get an idea of what I make. And I do custom orders. I do one-offs and stuff, or just make something and sell it, that sort of thing. I'm not really at the point yet where I'm making a consistent model or whatever. I just kind of do what people want.
That's pretty cool, man. No, the pictures are great. It looks like you make some great steel from you. I need to pick up a little something for you here soon, I think. So we'll be talking.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Also joining us from the state of New Jersey is AWAG. AWAG, you back?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. So what's going on? How you doing, man? Are you doing okay today? You doing all right?
I'm doing just fine. I went to the range today. I am happy as a clam.
I wanted to, but it poured. Well, it's been pouring for the last 4 days. But anyway.
I'm probably going to get that tomorrow.
Oh, man. I tell you what, it's just it's annoying. It's like you want to get out and go, but especially when you're trying to film and stuff in the rain, it's really a pain in the butt. But we'll make it work, man. All right, AWAG, thanks for being with us. You've been with us since like episode 2, so appreciate you being here as always. So,
thank you.
All right. Avid waterfowler, a.k.a. John. John, you with us, man? Are you in a zone where you can communicate? We kind of got a picture of you frozen mid-shift right now, so. Yeah, he might be having.
No.
I'll take that as a no. And let's just see who's watching us over on the YouTube side. We've got Tacos and French Fries, Ronald Robertson. We've got Jason Stewart out there, 10X Shooters, G23, Texas Blades in the house. What's up, man? Dawson Noise is out there also. M. Gabriel's out there too. Gizzard Gary's out there and over here. Yoder, Texas. Man, he's been watching us for a long time. Defense Dad, or Poppy Defenso, as I'm going to start calling him, is out there, saying that he took French instead of Spanish because of the girls. Lo siento, amigo. Fluffy 10mm Jeep guys out there, too. Woo, G23, watch your language. And just messing with you, brother. Scott P79 in the house. Squibload's out there. Mystic Guns. And I think that's about it. So, man, we're just going to go into this one. And by the way, if you guys ever are interested in joining in Caliber Corner, those of you that are watching and you just want to be part of the panel or just experience a podcast, you can email me at thecalibercorner@gmail.com, and we'll get you a link and you can join in. Obviously, we try to keep it as family-friendly as possible, but sometimes words and emotions come out and you know, shit happens. So, also, tonight's episode is sponsored by SS Pond in Lexington, Nebraska. Guys, make sure you take the exit to Lexington, Nebraska, stop in at SS Pond, say hello to Stan. SS Pond's been a longtime supporter of the channel, and SS Pond will take care of your firearms needs. So, yeah, Squib made a really good point here. Squib, I think that was you talking about how this whole situation, not being able to leave or just watching the stuff, the products that we normally buy disappear, you know, it was a good test of our preps. It was a good test of our ability to see what kind of supplies we have on hand and gather the supplies that we need for our family. Like I said, during a move, it was a scary situation for us because there were times where, you know, we didn't know if we could get the house title released and stuff. I mean, you don't know when life is going to catch up with you. And it was a little bit of tension, you know, and things are getting better, but it's not 100%. So I don't really want to talk about what we prep necessarily or even how we prep, but more about the mentality that we keep as preppers or as people that have supplies. And this is interesting. Kind of myself included, or go ahead, guys. We'll talk about this. Yeah, get it out there.
One thing this tells you is what's going to be the first thing to go. Not the food, not the antibiotics, luxuries. Luxuries are going to be gone.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper and bottled water, man. I mean, to see Costco empty, that was insane, man. You walk in there and this entire warehouse wall, there's nothing. Nothing. I mean, I wasn't worried, okay, but to walk in there and see all these people like looking around at each other like, where's my water? Where's my toilet paper? Where's my paper towels? Where's my bleach? Right? I mean, that part just like, it was like some stuff out of a movie. I mean, for the first time, I'm like, okay, I'm sitting good. I'm okay, and I was just up there to pick up some food and stuff. I wasn't really looking for anything in particular. But to have that reality, it's like some third world stuff that you see in a movie, you know?
Man, I went to a Costco at the peak of all this, and it was like a movie. Like you said, like I was there buying chicken to freeze.
We get some chicken breast, you know? And people are like...
Everybody else was freaking out.
Oh.
I'm like, well, okay. I also bought like 6 flats of water just because I like bottled water, A, and B, that's like probably 3 or 4 months of drinking water, just guaranteed. And
just kind of taking a bottle here and there, you know, not relying on the 8 bottles a day kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And like that cost me like $29 at Costco because the water's so cheap there. So that didn't seem like that big of a, you know, impulse buy or whatever. I would definitely buy it for the next 6 months anyway.
I still haven't bought any toilet paper from before this shit happened.
What's funny about this is I'm looking out here in the chat and Tacos and French Fries says, good point, still no TP here. You know, it had me kind of looking around for some basic supplies at like Dollar Tree, Dollar General, some of those places. It really depends on the population density in the community because where I'm at, Nebraska's not. I think we're under 2 million people in the state. I'm probably wrong about that, but it's not a population dense state. So for the most part, there's adequate supplies for everybody. Okay, and so you can usually get what you need, and stuff doesn't generally sell out. And so to hear people say, "Well, I still can't get toilet paper," it's like, okay, it's been 3 months now, and they still don't have it on the shelves in your store. Why? You know,
not a very big town.
Okay, so
And
I want to ask.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Klein.
Yeah,
Tulsa is not a very big town, and it was crazy here. Imagine what it was like in New York or LA.
Oh yeah,
the apocalypse.
Now that I'm going to say is maybe depending on where you're at. All right, I live in Metro Detroit. There are 5 counties surrounding the city of Detroit, and we are more urban than rural. The auto industry has really built up the area since the 80s. And there are stores. When I talk to some of my friends, are like, yeah, we got 2 stores in the whole town. And I'm like, geez, at one point we had 2 Kmarts in our township. 2. Okay. And we're not even a big city. We got an international airport here, but that's our, it's just not a thing. But there were tons of warehouse clubs, tons of 24-hour grocery stores, tons of everything. And you would go, like in my township, you could still get some of this stuff that first couple weeks. You go one township over where it's less populated, even though they have tons of brand new stores, brand new warehouse clubs, brand new strip malls, and it's a whole different mentality over there. It's a bunch of white collar people instead of blue collar people. They were going crazy over there. The white collar neighborhoods were selling out faster than the blue collar. I think maybe because the blue collar neighborhoods were prepared. What I wanted to know from Foose is, do you buy your toilet paper at a warehouse club?
No, I buy mine at. We have a local Walmart, and then I live in a 13,000 person town. I buy local Walmart, or there's 2 other food chains. Actually, 3 other food chains, real small stores that are food only. That I have actually gone there during this whole pandemic crap. Because they are local stores and Walmart's getting enough money, I'm giving my money to these local shops during this time.
So the reason I asked is we go to a warehouse club to buy stuff in bulk. There's 4 of us here, and buying in bulk saves money because we have a family of 4. If I was living alone, it might not work out. Even though there are some things that are non-perishable that you can buy in bulk at Sam's Club or Costco, and it will make up for that $40 a year, right?
Easy.
We were buying our toilet paper in bulk. We had an open bulk pack of toilet paper when this started. And like what Klein was saying, he's shopping for chicken. I was shopping for turkey, and everybody's at Myers, which is like Walmart, but better. And they're buying paper towel because the toilet paper had sold out. And I'm thinking, if you wipe your butt with this and try to flush it, you're going to plug your toilet. But that was in a white collar neighborhood. They don't understand how plumbing works, right? You drive over to my neighborhood, which is blue collar, and there's still plenty of toilet paper on the shelves. But because we always bought in bulk, we had that giant bulk pack, and we just recently used it up. So it's made it 2 months. It was open when this started, and 2 months later, we just got through it. And in our area, a lot of things come back. I keep seeing these videos about there's no meat in the store. And I go to one store, and you've seen it in my videos. There's no poultry, right? You go to the store across the street, literally across the street, and they're fully stocked. And that's just it. Living where I live, I can go to about a dozen grocery stores without leaving the borders of my township, and I don't live in a big city. So for somebody who has only 1 store, 2 stores to rely on, or a mom and pop or whatever, I can see this being an issue. Their perspective is going to be entirely different than mine, but I mean, let that be a lesson to you. Maybe you buy a deep freeze when this is done, and you start buying the food in bulk, and you start freezing it or whatnot. And that it's a shock to your finances at first, right? It's like reloading. You buy the presses and stuff, and it's a shock to your finances. But over time, you start to recoup, and you go, okay, it was worth it. Same thing with a deep freeze. you might go, man, $200 is a lot of money for deep freeze, or buying meat in bulk is a lot of money out front. But the next thing you know, you've got a 6 months or a year's worth of meat in your deep freeze, and you're there going, hey, this
you're saving $2 or $3 a pound. You're buying, 20, 30 pounds at a time, saving $80 or $100.
But the thing is, when you buy 30 pounds at a time, you might shell out $400 or $500. You might go, dang, that's a lot of money. But if you work at the price per pound, it's just like reloading,
So my local store, my local Walmart and stuff, they're actually rationing to 2 packages of meat per sale right now.
Up here in Nebraska, 2 or 3 of our major beef processing plants have shut down for decontamination, and they've got a lot of employees getting sick, so they've had to slow down hardcore the rate of processing. And these supply major grocery store chains, the 3 plants that I know of, and it has caused there's been very little to no ground beef on the shelves, steaks. A lot of the grocery stores are grinding up their chuck, making their own hamburger just to meet some local demand, and the prices have gone up from like $2.75, $3.25 a pound for like a 75-20 or 75-25 to like $4.50 and $5 a pound for the same thing. Roland, do you want to say something?
Yeah. So here, the thing that sold out is ham and like pig and like stuff like that, and all of the beef is like the only thing on the shelves is super high end and it's super cheap. Like literally, the steaks are super cheap and really nice. I'm guessing that's because we have a shitload of cows, right? A lot of cows here, and
well, we do too, but there's no plants open to process it, though. That was a problem we had. Plus, a lot of the major pork plants some of the pork plants had shut down, some of the biggest producers, and so that lack of bacon, lack of hogs being purchased.
I just thought it was strange that I could get steak, but I couldn't get pork chops, and that the steak I was getting is better than ever and cheaper than ever.
My guess is that there's less pork processing facilities nationwide than beef. I'm just going to put that out there. So I would think that if you shut down some of those pork processing plants, you're going to have less production. You're not going to see as much on the shelves. There's less suppliers of pork than there are beef.
Now here, pork is more available and cheaper than chicken or beef. Beef's gone up a little bit. Chicken hasn't gone up, but it's in and out of stock. So is turkey. But pork is readily available and it's cheap. So it's kind of weird how you go around different parts of the country and you see different things going on. And when you're networking out with other preppers and you're talking about what's going on, what is going on in their part of the country may not necessarily be in yours. So, you could move the right way or the wrong way. New York Outcast was getting a hold of me when this first started, and everything that was happening in New York happened in Michigan about 3 weeks later. So I had a 3 weeks heads up on what was going to run out or what to look for or what was going to happen. But at a certain point, we broke ways, and things are different over there than they are here. Our hardware stores, there's lines outside the hardware stores to get in, but we have tons of toilet paper and meat. Over there, he don't have toilet paper and meat, but he don't have to wait in line to go to the hardware store. Things eventually change, and I think regionally, everybody's got a different situation.
Man, what are we doing with the hardware store? Because that's here too. Like, I can't hardly get in there to buy anything.
So what it is a lot of people have free time and have honey-do lists.
A lot of gardening going on right now. A lot of renovation stuff going on.
You can't go on vacation. You can't go on vacation because nothing is open. Or you can't go on vacation because if you have a governor like ours, if you leave the state and not for business reasons, you have to self-quarantine for 15 days, and you are disqualified for unemployment for those 15 days if you leave state for personal reasons. You believe that crap? So if mine's doing it, I can't believe we're the only state doing that stuff. So you can't go anywhere. So what are you going to do? You're going to work on a house. Now, think about it. When the housing bubble went and people were losing their jobs and their houses left and right, what were they doing? They were staying at home. They couldn't go on vacation. They were staying at home, and they were working on their homes so that when the housing market came back, their house would be marketable. They could sell it, or they had nothing else to do. Or remember after 9/11, nobody wanted to go on vacation because everybody was terrified to fly or go anywhere. People didn't even want to go to the bar for St. Patrick's Day for a while because everybody was afraid the terrorists would be there. So
that must be a local thing because after 9/11, then people just didn't fly around here, but everything else was fine. And this time, like Arkansas never officially shut down. So like we did limit people from coming from out of town to some of the rivers and crap like that. They did shut those down just because people were driving here and filling up all of our riverways and hiking trails.
So, hey, real quick, let's let Rich White go ahead and give us his intro. He just joined in. Rich, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, not much, man. Just jumped in, just got done eating dinner. So
all right. And I ask you to do this every week, but what's your show that you have? What's your podcast in case people want to tune in? What's it called and when is it?
It's This Week Unloaded. It's on the Unloaded Media channel. It's usually on Sunday nights between 8 and 9 p.m. Didn't do one last night. Had some personal issues. Didn't do the show. So.
It's all right, man. It's all good. Oh, and I should make a quick announcement here. Caliber Corner will be going back to Saturdays starting this week. So this Saturday, we're already going to have another episode. And I'm doing it just because there's free time for me during the week. And also on the weekends, I'm not as busy as I was before. I'm not having to make the round trips anymore like I did before. And so we're going to take Caliber Corner back to 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. East Coast Time, starting on Saturday. So it's going to mess with anybody. I apologize if you'd like to watch us live right now, but that's kind of where we started. We did like however half our episodes, maybe 3/4 the episodes in the mornings. And then our life plans changed and had a move coming up and everything. And I had to stop doing Saturday morning episodes, but I like doing them. Plus the range that I go to is pretty packed on the weekends. So I see myself going to the range during the week more often. So I'll get the next topic posted here in a couple of days so you guys can see what's coming up on Saturday. So, so the idea about prepping. So here's what's funny. Here's what happened in our family. It was one of those situations where I don't have a family of preppers. I'm probably one of the few. Myself and my dad are probably the only two people in our immediate family that I can think of that, like not counting my grandparents, aunts and uncles and stuff like that, that have adequate food and water supplies. I've got several members of my family that are gun people, so guns and ammo is not a problem. But when it came to food and supplies, the family kind of came together. There was a lot of phone calls made. I know my grandparents had no hand sanitizer. I had a small, like a half a liter bottle because I didn't really keep it around the house that often. They're being elderly. They like to sanitize a lot. No Clorox wipes. The family started making a lot of phone calls, and I had to make a few TP runs and some bottled water runs for the family because they couldn't get the supplies in their area. And we didn't want my grandparents who were in their 80s, traveling out of the house. So the family kind of came together like a community. And so that had me thinking, the problem is we're kind of isolated right now. And a lot of those kind of social connections that we used to make, whether it was maybe at the gun store or at the range or places we go hang out and go to or restaurants we go to, kind of those connections have kind of been broken a little bit. So I want to just kind of throw this out on the table for you guys to debate. When it comes to this idea of prepping, should you maybe think about expanding outward a little bit, maybe conversing with people in some of your organizations you might belong to, like maybe your gun club or maybe a sports league thing you might participate in? Is it a good idea to maybe get out there and chat, because you could have some valuable resources available out there that go beyond just acquiring food and water? Like this idea, if things get really bad, say you need somebody who's got some medical experience, or you need somebody that can do anything. Like say we could sew, right? And I guess the idea for this not only came from a suggested topic, but I watched the Bear Independent channel quite a bit. Over on YouTube. I think it's Bear Independent. I watch this podcast all the time. I just watch him, and he's got kind of a homestead, and he seems to have a place where a lot of people kind of participate and work and help each other out. And they've got a kind of a tight knit community where he's at, where if things go south, everybody kind of knows where to go, right? And so that kind of had me thinking maybe it's a good idea, especially me being in a new town, to kind of seek out maybe some of those people that might be like-minded and just maybe discuss them. I'm not saying like form a militia or anything like that, although you probably should. But, just kind of see what kind of resources are available. What do you guys think about that? Is that a bad thing or not?
I know people that do that. There's some groups around here in Tulsa that have compounds that you buy into, like a timeshare almost, and you can build like a house on this thing or a cabin of some sort and put all your gear there and whatever. And it's like a little town out in the middle of nowhere waiting to be,
populated
any day that it needs to be, and like the one that I went to, we were putting 50 cal fucking mounts. I can't stop cursing. I'm sorry. We were putting 50 cal mounts into concrete bunkers that were on the road approaching this place. So they get pretty serious.
Okay.
Like it surprised me.
Well, I mean, if it got to a point where you didn't want to stay in the town that you were in because the police weren't coming anymore for police calls and you feel like your family was in danger, or maybe your supplies are running low and, you've got all your preps outside of town and, your compound or your area that you go to, your safe place, whatever you want to call it.
You have to think he's in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Waco didn't happen that far away from here, and people are all nuts. So,
well, is it nuts? Is it nuts, or is it more about self-preservation? I mean, I guess that's a question to ask. You've already had some looting and some stupid rioting going on.
People are self-reliant. Like Oklahomans and I would say North Texans, they are a different breed. Just by going through them, going through the area multiple times. Their way, the way of thinking is totally different. I have to take care of myself and the people I'm around because no one else will.
Man, that's really true. Like everyone I know.
There's a downside to being in one of these groups, and that is that in every group there's got to be a leader. Now, if you buy into this thing, you've paid, you've got a contract, you should have some sort of protection. But if things go total anarchy, there's no rule of law. So the biggest bully wins. Well, now, the other thing is, let's say you get one where you don't pay or whatever it is. You're talking the probability of Jonestown.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily agree with. Now, if that's what you want to do, hey, man, it's your life, it's your money, do what you want. But I just don't know that I would go there because before you know it, you're going to have some guy in charge who's got muscle telling you that your wife is his wife and you're going to go work for the community. So I don't know about doing that.
But before you do that, before you get into these things, there has to be trust there. And you have to be able – so without rule of law, you have to have that trust that the community will go as a community. You can't have a dictator, or else you got to have the checks and balances with all this shit. Just like
we're into a Negan situation from The Walking Dead,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, man, like that's the danger of like any group of people. The ones that I saw, they had like a contract sort of thing when they bought in, and they all voted like a democracy sort of thing. And like I think there was one guy that kind of like ran things, but he only ran things because everybody else was like voting for him to be able to run things. And my worry about places like this are like they hired us to come do that stuff. I know exactly where they are and what their defenses are, and I'm not the sort of person that you want knowing that stuff about you. So they're not really all that safe.
So
exactly why I wouldn't be in one of those groups.
I'm not saying go join any particular group, but even like some of my friends, I told them when things were getting bad, so to speak, and you're starting to see all these spikes and rises and shortages. And I told my friend, I said, he's got supplies, and I said, if it gets bad, and we need to work together because he's got, he's got military experience and he's a pretty straight-headed guy. I said, if our families need to come together to help each other out, I said, even though I've moved, I said, we could still help each other out in some way, shape, or form. You guys could come here, or we could go there, or whatever. If it got to a point where it's just social breakdown. I mean, having that kind of a backup plan, that's not paranoia. I think you're just being practical about things if things go bad, because I know in some places it's not been good.
So before since you just moved, I would look for people you trust before people that have these skills and stuff like that. Because if you're looking for skills, that you're going to see a skill and you may not see a red flag or something that would be distrustful. And in a community like that, trust is everything. You have to absolutely trust everyone in there, or else stuff's going to happen. And if you don't have that trust, it's going to break down pretty quick.
And here's the thing, being part of this community that we're in right now, I mean, I've got 4 or 5 other YouTubers or people that are on our panels and stuff that are Nebraskans that are not necessarily super far away. And it's good to know that these people are within a phone call's distance if I'd have a problem or a concern or need some kind of a supply or want to trade. I think my opinion, I think it's best to at least have some sort of, acquaintances out there, I guess, that you could rely on if you needed something.
Well, so I always keep at least half a tank of fuel in my truck. Half a tank of fuel will get me from just east of St. Louis, like where I'm at, all the way up to St. Louis. It'll get me out to Tulsa. It'll get me to the bot, well into actually Louisiana, will probably get me up to Omaha.
Yeah.
If only you knew any place to stay in Tulsa.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, if I need to get somewhere, and as stuff is breaking down, you could get places.
Yeah. Well, that's my plan. Really, is I really would like to have some more gas on hand, like a long-term gas storage. I can't really figure any good way to do that, but I have a buddy that lives up in the middle of North Dakota and has a fucking farm, and I'd head up there.
What about jerry cans, and then
Put some stable in it.
Well,
I've thought about that, but I guess you'd have to cycle through it because
You have to rotate it out of your vehicle.
yeah.
So what I do? What I do is I go ahead. I do have I have 3 jerry cans, so 15 extra gallons. And whenever gas is low, I put that in my tank and I fill them up. Usually gas is low going into the fall, and late winter. So you do that, and every now and again I'll take in the summer I'll do it as well. Or if I need gas for the mower, I'll do that, and then I'll fill it back up. It's little stuff like that.
I paid $1.15 for gas the other day. I still can't believe that.
So up in Springfield, I picked up for $1.03, and a buddy of mine said it got down to 98.
Man, that's nuts.
Yeah, we got below $1 here in Nebraska for a little while too.
And where I'm at, it never got below $1.39.
Wow.
Hey,
sorry.
I was gonna say, AWAG, you got your hand up. You want to say something, bud?
Yeah, I was gonna say, with the storage of gasoline nowadays, gasoline has so much ethanol and additives to it. It spoils so quickly. I was actually working on my Supra a little bit, and when I let it sit, it's been sitting for about 2 years. I had a full tank of gas in it, thinking that, yeah, sure, it's good to have a full tank of gas so that it doesn't, rust out the gas tank. And I go to look in it, and it's like, it doesn't smell good. It doesn't look good. So I'm essentially going to have to drop the gas tank, dump all the fuel, and clean it.
So there are some gas stations around here that sell no ethanol fuel. Yeah, it's 20-30 cents more a gallon.
Yeah, ours is 40 to 50, but if you want it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I only run premium in the Supra, so I mean, you'd think it'd be good gas and it'd at least keep for a year or two.
Yeah,
so your premium is a 10% ethanol? I always thought 91 or 93 octane wasn't, but
no. And in fact, our 93 is majority ethanol.
Hey, Squib, what's that?
I've had fuel that's a couple years old that I was skeptical about work. I'm not saying that that's a good idea. Rule of thumb, gasoline, 6 months. Diesel, a year. I keep 10 gallons of diesel and 10 gallons of gasoline in my shed at all times. It's nothing to keep it there. I rotate it out by putting it in the cars, the motorcycle, the lawnmower, and the trucks, and go to the gas station and refill. I try to go when fuel is cheaper. That's usually my reminder. So I usually rotate it out way before it's 6 months or a year old. And yeah, standing there in the driveway, dumping this into the fuel tank with the California compliant nozzles is a pain. But it really isn't that much space to store. It really isn't that dangerous to store. And for me, the fuel cans really weren't that much money because I didn't go out to the store and buy all of them at once. Matter of fact, a couple of them I got for free, people giving them away. But the thing is, rotating it out, it's just as simple as remembering to change the batteries in your smoke detector or changing your clocks for daylight savings time. It's not that hard.
With the siphoning, get a rubber hose and things like a gravity siphon or something like that. It's a rubber hose and it has a fitting and a glass marble.
That's called a super siphon, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
There's baffles in the tank to prevent that.
Not on my truck. Mine's 17.
So real quick here, guys, we've got
baffles in the tank to stop that.
We got BP joining us, Brown Priscilla, which I think is Storm and Norman. Now, Storm and Norman's calling in, so we're going to see how the audio quality is. Hey, what's going on? You sound great, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm in the city now.
All right, there you go.
Thanks
So,
for the invite.
no problem. I got a quick question for you, man. What's your take on the whole prepping idea? Is it good to maybe branch yourself out a little bit and discover other members in whatever community you belong to, or group or club you belong to try to find like-minded people maybe you could rely on, trade with, help out in times of crisis, or not? What do you think?
Before I even answer that question, I just want to say hi DOJ, hi ATF, hi Department of Homeland Security. I am not a terrorist, but I'm not a lone wolf in that sense. But I don't like taking on people because if they got hella kids, man, and if they got hella bullshit and all that, they got hella drama, and if those mouths don't get fed, now then it's an operation security. So now if they're unhappy or some drama goes down, now they're upset, and then they know your whole operation and everything. So I try to keep it as minimum as possible, just so that nobody knows what the hell I'm doing. You know what I mean? And if they get flipped by the feds or whatever, they don't know shit because I didn't show them shit.
Maybe have some strategic connections, possibly like guys that you could call on if you got to help each other out, say with some sort of protection or some sort of defense situation, maybe, but not one where you're going to openly show them off your stocks and supplies and say, "Come join us," Yeah, pretty much. I'm not out there with a big ass billboard, and then if I do drops, it's a dead drop. So it's a no face to face. So I'll just give you the location, you get the shit, and you drop whatever you need to drop. But I want to go back to the gas thing. When I was with the Brits, they were using Scepter tanks, and then also I learned that if you take those 55-gallon drums, if you actually sandblast them on the outside and then rhino line them or Line-X or some kind of truck bed liner, that shit makes them last way longer, dude. Way longer. They don't corrode as quick. So you mean on the outside? You're talking about the outside, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the inside, you don't want to do that because that gasoline would break that stuff down eventually. But
no. The gas inside the tank is already it's already lined with some kind of chemical.
Oh, okay.
That, doesn't break down as quick. Yeah. That's what I do.
Gotcha. There were some good suggestions out here on the YouTube side. So Go Shadow was saying, get diesel generator. Diesel will store longer. I had 900 gallons of diesel in Alaska that ran the oil-fired heaters in the diesel generator. He also said, add 2 cans of B12 to your gas. And Go Shadow says, make sure to only buy number 1 diesel or heating oil. So that's something important to consider too. And again, Norman here makes a pretty good point. It's really a tough one because it's like you might have somebody who's a gun guy or gun gal in your neighborhood and somebody who's into prepping like you and somebody who thinks the same way, but they got kids in the family and you're like, hey, something happens. You guys come on over here and we'll work together. Okay, sounds good. And you got 6 mouths to feed now instead of 1 or 2,
Yeah, and he also made a good point about operational security too, is what I've noticed is, especially around here in New Jersey, your suburban, urban areas, you get these gun guys, you get these redneck guys, you get everybody that plasters their back window of their pickup truck with all their gun manufacturers, and they're the NRA and this, that, and the other thing. It's just like you're basically shouting to the people, "Hey, I own guns." With my truck, I've basically turned it into a boring machine. I've taken every single last piece of trim that I can. I've taken every piece of trim that I can off of that truck. I've taken every sticker that I've seen that is blatantly blatantly gun related.
You don't have the giant Vortex sticker on the back or the Browning Buck,
Nope. The only thing that I have on my back window is the SWFA, their icon, their bird, and that's it. It's just the bird icon. And if you look at it, if you know what it is, you know what it is. But if you look at it, oh, that guy just has a picture of an eagle.
He's got an eagle on the back, Yeah.
Man,
an person or an outdoors person.
What
was that?
Why do you care that people know? I guess.
No, it's just one of those things that, I like the brand, and I got a sticker with it, so I put the sticker on the back.
I mean, why do you care that people know that you have guns so much that you are, altering your behavior?
Think about it, though, Klein. That truck's sitting there at the park. You're a bad person. You've got a Magpul sticker on the back, and a Hornady sticker on the back, and a Keep America Arms sticker on the back. There's nobody around. I bet you there's a gun in that truck somewhere. Or if you're trying to get out of town, it's a bad
thing. I got to be careful about that.
What's that?
The way I get around it is I've got a Glock Perfection sticker on the back window of my truck, and I leave it unlocked all the time, and nobody's broke into it yet because as soon as they see that, they go, I don't want that piece of crap, and they go on to the next house.
Well, because of my line of work, I don't really do that because of my line of work. I'm a fucking arms dealer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People will follow me home. And then I don't want to get caught up in no bullshit charge. Back to the terrorist thing. Not the terrorist thing, but the special forces, how they operate is they get a mole, and then they infiltrate one of the factions. So those people that are trying to, you know, link up with you and all that, they might be burned already. And now you just brought the feds to you. So I wouldn't, you know, mess with anybody or associate with anybody with these big-ass stickers or whatever. You're just too high profile for me, man. I'm low-key. As far as anybody knows, I'm a nice person. I ain't a terrorist. I ain't none of that. So I want to keep it that way.
Yeah. Hey, so, real quick, Pat Hirsch is joining in. So, Pat, what's kind of your take on just kind of prepping in general? Do you think it's important to kind of form a community with like-minded people that might also be preppers, or do you kind of keep things to yourself? What do you do, Pat?
Mainly around me. I'm lucky enough to live clear out in the country, and I'm surrounded with nothing but my family, you know, cousins, uncles, and everything. So, you know, if something goes down, you know, that's the people around me. So I've that's kind of the community that I've got around. So I'm pretty lucky in that aspect. And, you know, farmers, ranchers, and freezers full of meat as far as that goes that are under lock and key. And
that's
you know,
why you trust someone before you start talking about all this other stuff, because you know, like the other guy said about, you know, the ATF, FBI, or what are CIA, you know, infiltrating you. Get to know someone first before you even start bringing anything like this stuff up. Feel them out. Know who they are.
Yeah, you know, I mean, myself, I see Pat as somebody that you know, if I needed some help with something, or if he and I wanted to trade or something, I feel like I could trust him being a fellow Nebraskan. But you know, if Pat said, "Hey, you know, we're desperate, we need help," it's like, get over here, you know, let's go, come on, you know, things like that. But I mean, it is a very difficult, and you know, Norman does make a really good point. You just got to really be careful what you do.
They're gonna use your wife. They're gonna use your wife. They're gonna use your kids. They're gonna use all that shit. If some man or woman is forced with jail sentence or death penalty, they will snitch. They will snitch like a mug. Trust me. Everybody break. Everybody break.
All that only matters is getting
You've got one person living in an urban environment where everybody's going to turn on you and steal from you. You got another person living out in the sticks where everybody knows everybody's business and we're all related. It's a whole different thing. So my criteria for wanting to network out with another prepper is going to be different than yours based on where you live and based on your experience. So what you guys are all talking about are all different points of view that are all valid, but it depends on your experience and where you live, your environment. It is way different in an urban environment than it is in the country. I lived in both. It is way different.
But even in your urban environment, if you could trust someone, get to know them as an individual before you start bringing up any prepping crap or anything like that. That's going to be vetting someone out. That's true whether you live in an urban or rural environment.
Because people are people, man. You can't really necessarily get around that, you know?
Right.
And everybody's subject to waterboarding. I cannot deny nor confirm if I've ever partaken in that, but guaranteed, if you get waterboarded, you're going to snitch. You're going to snitch.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bet it or not, you're going to snitch.
You are talking about stuff that is in movies and novels and stuff.
I don't know. I'm in Cali, bro.
So
it's wild out here. I got much respect for you.
Yeah, I used to live there too.
I mean,
we're just saying,
a lot of people.
If we have a whole societal breakdown or something would happen, or we'd have a power station go up and the power goes up, people are going to get pretty edgy 48 to 72 hours, 2-3 days without electricity, without the food coming in, the fridge is starting to spoil. You might have to rely on this group, right? And let's just say you've got a big group of people you belong to. Let's call it a militia, or let's call it an armed group of people. Who knows what could happen from the inside? I guess a situation like that. So it kind of, I don't know, puts you a bit at a disadvantage, but what's that?
Boogaloo, boogaloo.
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah, the boogaloo. But yeah, I mean, even if you just have a few people that that you could rely on, I guess that'd be the most important. I'd start with family first, especially if you've got family that's like-minded. I keep saying that, family that are gun people, that understand what you do and why. And again, a few people mentioned over on the YouTube side, hey, this whole experience might open up people's eyes a little bit to maybe being a little more prepared. People maybe have a few more supplies on hand than just a weekend's worth of food for the 4 kids.
So you talk about family. Shit goes down. My family is the last group of people I want.
Yeah, me too.
Is that just because of they're not necessarily gun people or what?
No, that's just because they're useless pieces of crap.
Oh, okay.
Well,
all right.
No, the views of so the rest of my family are most likely left of Biden.
Okay. Well, and I'm just saying, like, if you've got family that's in that area, like I got several family members that are into guns that get into the idea of prepping, that are supplied and stocked up, and that kind of thing is what I'm saying. But yeah, if they're not, you probably don't want to go there. So let's see.
Yeah, as far as group stuff wise goes, just keep it tight. Don't advertise until you get to know somebody, and just don't put everything out there. If just keep it tight and keep it close.
More Conservative pretty much says the best. If you rely on a group for anything concerning preservation, you're already screwed. Yeah. If you want something, if you think that you're a prepper and you think that you're ready and you think you can handle life, do something just for fun. Just get up some morning with the family, or just get up yourself and just hit the main breaker to your house and turn off the power, and just see how well you can function in that kind of an environment. Because living out in central Nebraska, we have a lot of storms. We'd have the power go out, and I'd realize I couldn't find a flashlight, or my God, both cars are in the garage and it's a power garage door opener, and you got to lift the dang thing up, or, do you put yourself in a situation like that just to kind of get a feel for what it's like to not have any of those resources, or turn your cell phone off, turn off your electricity.
That's a third world country.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what they do in third world countries.
No. What you need to do, along the same lines, but wake up one day and say, okay, we're going camping for a week, and take what you have and go.
Yeah. How do you keep yourself clean? How do you keep yourself fed? How do you keep yourself hydrated? What kind of medical supplies do you need? Again, these are just maybe some things to think about for future use. If anything, like I said, we're kind of going into spring storm season for the central part of the country. So not to go off into that area, but it's a good idea to make sure. And it really did show me what I thought I was prepared for and what I wasn't prepared for, what I didn't have and what things I probably should have had. And again, part of it was us moving, whereas before I had a lot of these supplies, the food and water supplies, and now I didn't. And it came in a pretty bad time trying to get this stuff. And so I did feel a little bit vulnerable. It's just kind of one of those things like, wow, look at these people. It was crazy.
Or marry somebody who's from a third world country, so they're already used to not having shit.
Yeah, and so when they do have those things, they're very happy to have those things, right? Kleenexes.
I mean, I'm from the Philippines, man. We live in a Bengal village, so we didn't wear no clothes or no nothing. Titties hanging out in the whole nine.
Oh, man.
So when I got here, I was like, oh, shit, this is America. This is cool. But, yeah, if you have somebody who's already coming from an area that it's already like grid down location type deal, they're already mentally, psychologically prepared for it, instead of somebody who already was given everything from day one. Now you do them exercises, they're like, oh my God, hell no.
So if the AC goes out, they don't snap,
and what you just said is really the true downfall of the U.S. is we're not mentally, psychologically hardened like the majority of the rest of the world is. So we can't take big, sudden changes and go, well, this is how it is, so deal with it.
I see how people are acting now, just being told to stand here before you can go check out. Go stand here. You got to have your face covered to go into this store, and then they get mad about it. And it's like, it is. I mean, people aren't used to just suddenly being told what they can do, what they can do, what they can have, and what they can't have. When I was at Costco, when they rolled out their first pallet of hand sanitizer, this was like a month ago, Germex 1-gallon bottles. And I saw a lady that had it in her cart, and I was like, oh, I said, where'd you get that? She goes, oh, there's a pallet over there. I said, cool. I went over and grabbed one, and it was just a swarm came in, man. I mean, people weren't fighting over it. They had bottles for everybody that was there at that time. But I mean, just it's like, whoa, this kind of thing happens, And I do think this whole situation with what we've gone through kind of shows that off to us. So
well,
I don't know.
I mean, the best thing about any virus or any like natural medical condition is having your own immune system as good as possible. That means, be as fit as you can be. And, this is coming from a guy who's 300 pounds. It's not fit at all.
God damn, you said 300. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, shit. My bad.
Yeah.
I was going to touch on that, too. I've been working with Angry American from everywhere. People know who he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I've lost 135 pounds in the last 8 months. And I was way better. So,
yeah, that's a good mess.
Stuff like that. Make sure you get out. Make sure your own immune system is able to kick shit. If you're one of these people that is always taking some type of medicine every time you get a sniffle, do you need?
Oh yeah, you better have your herpes medicine. You got to have that shit. That's a must right there, bro.
Hey, speak for yourself, bro. No, this is a good point, though. And then the other thing, too, is if we have a situation like we do now where we're seeing the majority of the people that have been dying are older people or people that have pre-existing conditions. And if you've got those pre-existing conditions, you may want to maybe consider what you do and how you get out and connect with people or what just to be safe. I mean, yeah, there's a small chance you're going to catch this. And yeah, there's even a smaller chance you're going to die from it. But if you've got those conditions, you might want to be as careful as possible. Like my own grandma goes out and goes shopping like it's nobody. She doesn't care. She's like, I'm going to go to Walmart if I want to get my groceries. I'm not going to worry about it. It's like, Grandma, you probably shouldn't be out right now. Your community is at its peak for COVID. She's like, whatever. She's like, I've been through 2 world wars. I don't care. I'm going to Walmart, whatever, So, I mean, some people are just like that, but at the same time, it's, I don't know. You're right, though. You do need to take care of yourself. Yeah.
Because your best and last line of defense is your own body. We've been on this planet for hundreds or probably tens of thousands of years, maybe hundreds of thousands of years. However, we're still here. This pandemic shit has happened before. It will happen again. And guess what? We're still here.
Yep.
So, modern medicine's only been around, modern times. People think it's, it's always been around. Bullshit. Modern medicine has only been around, if you think about it, since World War II.
Something I would like to throw out there to get some opinions on. Since this has happened, all right, this has been going on for 2+ months now. Those of you out there that are in a group or have a prepping partner, I have a prepping partner. Have you been in communication since this has happened? Have you stayed in regular communication, updating your plan or updating, if this happens, that happens, whatever? And have you noticed anything that might be a warning sign to you that maybe this partner was not as reliable as you thought, or this group was not as trustworthy as you thought?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Anybody?
Yeah, it's going to definitely test the connection. So, yeah, no, dude, I agree. I agree with you 100%, man.
That's just not the connection, but how reliable is a person. If someone in a shit hit the fan situation, you got to trust someone that if they say that they're going to do something, it's going to get done and get done promptly. So if you are in a circle of friends or what have you, and someone says, "Yeah, I'm going to go do this," and they don't, dude, you got to keep that not in the back of your mind, but up on your forehead, because you may not want that person anymore.
So with this COVID thing, has anybody noticed anything that might be a warning sign from their group or from their partner or from their, has anybody said, maybe it's a good thing this has happened, not because we like seeing the economy go to crap or not be able to go anywhere or meet short of supply at the store, but I just learned something about Joe, and maybe Joe isn't the best choice to,
So
no.
I haven't seen that. What I have seen is you get to know people who think things through. Some people that I thought were so calculated and everything, and they work in the medical field, and they're having to do a whole bunch of stuff with that. And she's an older lady, and she has his son, early 20s, and he's out gallivanting everywhere. And I'm like, you got to put that crap on lockdown, because what if he would get something? This is early on. What if he gets something? You'd get it. You take it to your work, and all of a sudden your work shut down. And where you work out, if that shuts down, it may not come back. You know, it's more of the how do people think that I have seen be shown during this time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying their actions and their words kind of give you an insight as to what it might be like in another situation.
Yes, because if they could sit there and think critically and do what is best for them as well as the people that they quote unquote love, if they don't sit there and do what's best for the group, do you want them in your group?
Yeah.
Because
good point.
In a shit hit the fan situation, if this lady was in my group, she'd go out and she'd see someone hurting or something like that, and then she comes in contact with that person, and maybe she brings them back thinking she's helping them, whereas she's hurting the group.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. That's what I've seen, and I'm just using that as an example. I've seen multiple people that I thought had their, you know, between their ears squared away. Not really. And in a shit hit the fan situation, preps and all that stuff is awesome, but your mind has to be there.
Here's what Tony said, and this is Artisan Tony just said this out in the chat. He said, no one will ever be prepared for everything, but fear is the enemy, not being prepared. And I think that's a pretty good point. You know, we've got a lot of resources. We're a resilient species and population, and having your fear get to you instead of thinking through the situation or thinking what kind of options you have, I think is what a lot of people don't do. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that we're such a kind of catered to enabled population where we can just get things on a dime, you know, and when that stuff breaks down, you've got to be able to think through it and not think, oh my God, Amazon's not working. What am I going to do? You know, you just got to, unfortunately, so many people are just conditioned to that kind of a lifestyle that they don't know what to do. I mean, you know, case in point, again, going to the store and seeing how people were, and nobody was being uncivil at the stores that I went to, but just seeing people just coming out of the stores with just carts full of stuff and everything. It's like, good God, man. I don't know. I think it just hopefully opened up a few people, but yeah.
At a local store, a person came out with a cart full of toilet paper. Absolute huge cart full. And they had a smart car. Everything couldn't fit in there.
They strap it to the top or what? Is there a roof rack on those things?
No. What happened is people that were in line after them that couldn't get any saw them, went, you can't fit all this in there. She's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And guess what? They went and they took one and walked off. They took, you know, one or two, you know, rolls, or not rolls, but a package or two, and walked off.
Just left everything or what?
No, basically stole from them.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, so let's you know, I went and I bought everything. I couldn't fit everything in. You were behind me. You just like, sorry, grabbed one and took off.
Mm.
And I mean, is that bad? Yes, but
it's kind of to be expected, you know, unfortunately.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. Just like having somebody snag in your cart, reach in your cart and grab something before you check out. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Except this was actually paid for. But.
Oh, man. Let's see. G23 says, I edited my first video today. I've got so much to learn. Man, it gets easier as time goes on, buddy. It gets easier as time goes on. So let's go ahead and shift topics. Then I think we kind of discuss, you know, kind of the pros and cons of the idea of going solo versus being in a group for your prepping or the allies that you form, the alliances that you form or whatnot, and whether or not it's a good thing or it isn't. It's kind of up to you. It kind of depends on your situation. I would like to think that I've got, you know, my family and some of my fellow gun tubers I could rely on if I needed it. You know, just in super desperate times or whatever, if I wasn't able to get by on my own. But otherwise, and if you don't have those things, just at least be prepared yourself. I mean, there's a lot of things a person can do to ensure their own safety. You know, whether you've got to get by on a couple months with no trips to the store or whatever, you know, or you got to bug out or whatever, just, you know, make sure you got the basics on hand. That's all I got to say. Everybody kind of determines what their version of the basics would be. But
so more of the story, kid, dump all the Travi.
Dump the Travi? No, we're the ones that you need. We're the ones that you need to come to. We got these. Foos. But anyway, all right. So we're going to move on to a misunderstood caliber, a caliber that I'm waiting for a resurgence here at any point. 38 Super. 38 Super is the caliber for tonight. So it's been a long time since I've talked about a caliber. Klein, do you guys want to say something real quick, or go ahead?
Super or super comp?
38 Super automatic. Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, there's 38 Super and there's 38 Super auto comp.
Okay, what's the difference between Super Auto Comp and, because I'm seeing 38 Super, also known as 38 Super Auto or 38 Super Auto.
Yeah.
38 ACP?
No.
All right.
38 Super Auto and 38 Super and 38 Super Auto Comp. The Auto Comp is a rimless cartridge. The 38 Super is a semi-rimmed cartridge, kind of like your 380s and 32 ACP.
That's when we're talking about semi-rimmed or rimless
Super.
straight. Yeah.
So you could get them both to run in the same gun.
Okay.
It has to be built for it. Your extractor has to be loose enough on the auto comp to be able to deal with that rim.
Okay.
Some people that I know that run auto comps, they have it tuned for that, and then they actually mill down that semi rim.
Oh, okay.
But that's because the brass is so damn expensive.
Gotcha. Real quick, I just want to cover the basic history of 38 Super. I'll just tell you what I've got for resources here, and we'll kind of discuss whether or not it's still a relevant cartridge today, what kind of options you have for firearms and stuff like that. So the 38 Super, also known as 38 Super Auto, is a pistol cartridge that fires a .356-inch diameter bullet. Introduced in the late 1920s as a high-pressure loading of the 38 ACP, also known as 38 Auto, the older 38 ACP cartridge, propelled 130-grain bullet at 1,050 feet per second, whereas 38 Super pushed the same bullet at 1,280 feet per second. I'm not sure what kind of an energy gain that is, but I'm sure it's pretty significant. The 38 Super's gained distinction as the caliber of choice for many top practical shooting competitors. It remains one of the dominant calibers in IPSC competition. So yeah, what do we know about this caliber?
So what he's talking about, the IPSC and the shooting competitions, it's called major scoring. Whenever you run an open gun, these are the ones that look like a freaking choo-choo train whenever they shoot. They have a gas comp. They have a compensator right at the end of the muzzle, and they just throw up gas straight up. So these 38 Super comps are 38 open guns. You need to hit a certain power factor. In an open, you can use a 9mm for it. It's 170 power factor. So your weight of your bullet times your speed divided by 1,000. So that's how fast your bullet has to be. So basically what it's saying is the more power factor you have, the more recoil it has. So the more points you get for Charlies and Deltas. That's basically what it comes out to. The reason that 38 Super Comp is popular is because you could fit 29 to 30 rounds in a 170 millimeter magazine, whereas if you do 40, you're having 20, 24, 25, something like that. And most of the time it doesn't matter, but it matters because that 38 Super Comp, it has more gas in it, works the comp much better, and lighter bullet, so your recoil will be a little bit lighter, felt recoil, than in a 40. But the major thing is the amount of rounds you can put into a 171 millimeter tube magazine.
And I know you can load around to do whatever you want, but how does this compare velocity and energy-wise between 38 Super Auto and 40 Smith? Any idea? Like I said, we were seeing 1280 for 130 grain for feet per second, but
Right, but you get down to 165 grain 40, and you're running probably 11. So I mean,
Okay.
not that much as far as power, but the felt recoil, you could get more gas out of that super comp because it's higher pressure than a 40. And
So for
yeah,
oh sorry,
No,
I wanted to know about what I heard that 38 Super is popular in other countries, in particular Latin American countries, because it's a non-military round, and in some countries they have laws that say you can have a gun as long as it's not chambered in a standard military cartridge. So 45 ACP is a military cartridge. 9mm Luger is a military cartridge, right? So 38 Super is your 1911 that's not in a military cartridge. So is there any truth to that, or is that a urban or a gun myth?
There's a truth to that, especially south of the border. 38 Super is heavily used there because of that. Some European countries have that stipulation as well. It's less of an issue over there because their gun clubs are more regulated, and you have a lot of licensing and stuff that you have to go through to become a part of those clubs, and then they allow 9mm over there as well.
there's also, there are links to the sources for this, but on Wikipedia, they're talking about how ICE agents or Border Patrol, a lot of the shell casings that they find at a lot of the crime scenes are 38 Super. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when people buy their guns, they can't get 9. And a lot of the companies like Taurus or some of these South American firearms companies, or even in Europe, they'll make a 38 Super firearm. And a lot of times, if you go to the Taurus website, their Brazilian website, and it's kind of interesting to see their gun catalog, it'll say on the 9, the 40, and the 45 not available for civilian use. And the 38 Super and the 380 pistols are approved for civilian ownership. Granted, it's a whole process you got to go through, but it just shows you, it is still relevant outside of the States.
Here in the U.S., it's not needed. People go, number one, because in a 1911, you're going to shoot a 45 most likely. It's only
yet Foos, to counteract that, a lot of the guns I'm seeing for sale on Davidson's in 38 Super are 1911 platforms.
But the reason you're seeing that is because at one time it was super common. But because the brass is so hard to find, and whenever you do find it, it's like 60 cents a round versus a 9 that's this is range pickup dirty, 60 cents. Whereas a 9 or 40, you're looking at 2-3 cents. Go ahead.
What about the plus P ammunition? I heard that the reason that the plus P ammunition exists is because 38 Super for competition is great, but 38 Super for self-defense is anemic. And there's a lot of plus P ammunition available out there. It's usually, in my experience, because I stock 38 Super, even though I don't own a gun in that yet, I've had an easier time getting plus P ammunition than standard velocity. I do have both, but I asked about that, and it was like, oh yeah, dude, standard velocity, it's just not good for self-defense. Great for competition, you're punching holes in paper, but not in people. And then my thing is, with some of these guns, they're older guns, and I'd be a little concerned about them handling plus P pressure ammunition. So what's your take on that, Food?
So you think of, and I can't remember exactly which round this was, but it was a 138 grain pill running at 1050, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, 130 running at 1280 for the 38 Super. Yeah, Super Auto.
So NATO is 124 running at 1100. So if you start looking at stuff, even the Super, the lower pressure stuff is still hotter than NATO. It's perfectly fine. You just don't find that round with your advanced hollow points like you see in 9.
Yeah, Hornady doesn't even make a 38 Super hollow point round, whereas they make many, many calibers. But
you have even in USPSA, a lot of people are going to a 9 major. So basically, you have a 38 Super comp loading and a 9. it's kind of like a 9 plus P plus plus plus, type thing. I mean, like
nice.
So have you guys ever looked at a piece of cartridge and you could see the ejector and the extractor marks in the rim?
No, that sounds bad.
So okay, so think of this: these 9 major guns that are vastly becoming more and more popular because 38 Super is so expensive. It's shooting a proof round every time you shoot the gun.
Good God. I'm looking it up right now. I think we need to talk about 9mm major. Let's talk about 9mm major. We don't need to change the topic, but let's talk about it next week. I definitely want to look into this a little bit because I am fascinated by this. I've never heard of it before. I don't know.
Well, that's USPSA. You're looking at 125 grain bullets, sometimes moving at 1,500 feet per second.
Ooh.
Out of a 5.5 inch barrel.
It was in that new John Wick movie, right? They made a big deal about it in the movie.
Was that what it was? Yeah, because they needed armor-piercing rounds or whatever to get past the high table security or whatever. Yeah.
Why don't they just use 357 SIG at that point?
Because of capacity. 357 SIG, you're looking at capacity in 171 millimeter magazine at 24, 25 rounds, where you could fit 29 to 30 and 171 millimeter mag for competition.
Which is going to save you seconds of reloading or just time to finish your round. In competition, it's your edge, right?
Yeah, because we have a lot of stages that are in your 20 to 28 rounds. If you have 171 mag that can handle 29 or 30, and then you top it off, so you could have 30 or 31 rounds versus someone that can only have 25. That's a second reload somewhere in the stage.
Real quick with the 38 Super ammunition, 38 Super Auto. Looking it up right now on AmmoSeek, I'm seeing 25.4 cents per round if you buy 800 rounds at a time at $203, and that's for 124 grain. And that's Gecko brand, which I've never fired. I've seen Gecko before. You can get ArmScore for 25.7 cents a round if you buy 1,000 rounds at $257 a case. So, yeah, it does start at 25 cents. If you want Fiocchi, you can get it for 26.6 for 129 grain. These are all full metal jacket rounds, by the way.
And going back to Fusa's point about the power of the 38 Super, I think a lot of people get it mixed up with some of the other 38 calibers. I was talking to a guy's gun shop, and somehow, I don't remember how, but the topic 38 Super came up. And he was putting out statistics for what he thought was 38 Super. He was talking about 38 Colt and 38 Smith & Wesson.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big myth out there because people start talking about it was the 38 Colt that was ineffective against the Moros, right, Rich?
What was that?
The Moros in the Philippines, some of the revolvers, they were using black powder cartridges, and I think that was 38 Colt. And people think 38 Colt is 38 Special, and they go, well, 38 Special isn't viable because it didn't work in the Philippines. It's like, no, dude, it's entirely different ammunition. That's the thing. When you get somebody that's new to guns, and it's very confusing at first. It's just like when you talk reloading. People get very confused at first. Just stay with it, do some research, ask some questions, and even though you might get some differing opinions and that sort of thing, after a while you'll start to get it, and you'll know the difference between a 380 Auto, a 38 Super, a 38 Special, a 38 Colt, a 357, and just
17.8 MRI incinerator round.
Right. Yeah. Or the 187, the 187 GC, yeah. And I mean, it's just, at first it's confusing. It's like anything else with this. It's very confusing. But as you stick with it, Gizzard Gary said something like, he's only been in this, the handgun thing for a few years. But if you listen to Gizzard Gary talk, he's really knowledgeable because he's stuck with it. He goes to events, he asks questions, he's on shows, he does shows, he's involved. And instead of going, I just don't understand, and throwing his hands in the air, he's picked it up and figured it out. And there's a lot of other people. Look at Kingpin, right? When he first came in here, and then from time to time, he still asks questions, and I think they're good. But sometimes they think he's asking for other people out in the audience who maybe aren't out there to ask, or maybe they're afraid to ask because they don't want to look stupid. Ask the questions. but it is really easy. There's a lot of myths in the firearm community, and it's really easy to confuse something as simple as 38 Super and 38 Special and 38 Colt when you're talking entirely different. I'll take off Patriot in the Dark. You're talking apples to apples, oranges to oranges.
Yeah. Now, just talking about the firearms themselves, just seeing what's out there. If you want to get into 38 Super, you don't have to spend a whole lot. Rock Island Armory's got a 1911 9+1 38 Super 1911 pattern pistol for $549 MSRP. Probably get it. Yeah.
Well, another reason that the 38 Super is a thing is you had 1911 that was 7+1 when it first came out. If you look at 38 Super Auto Comp, it's the OAL is the same as a 45 ACP. So you're going to have your large frame guns that are going to be chambered in it. And you can fit an extra 3 rounds in the same single stack mag that in your 1911. So you can have a 10+1 in that same footprint. So a lot of your 1911s are going to be, so that's a Tanfolio EAA witness.
Did you see the MSRP on that, guys?
No, I don't.
$5,480. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go take out a home loan on this.
So, this is an open gun. This looks like it has a 140 millimeter mag in it. So see that comp on it?
Yeah.
You want as much gas to be going through that comp because that keeps your barrel down. You want an extremely light slide. You want that thing to open up and cycle so dang fast.
Well, running that CZ75, you're automatically going to have a lighter slide because you've got about a third less slide going on up on top compared to, say, a 1911,
So your 1911s, go ahead and Google, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, or just USPSA open gun. And, I mean, you have some of these open guns, they'll run $8,000-$9,000. And you could have them set up for 9 major and 38 super. I know some guys
some sweet looking pieces here. Yeah. All right, let me go back to screen share for you guys.
Considered open guns whenever he gets to them. These are your race guns.
There you go.
Yeah.
Foos, yours is this orange, white, and blue one right here, right? Is that
that is not a open gun.
Here we go.
But so a lot of these guns, they're on the ragged edge, even with 38 Super and Super Comp. Most open guys will have 3 to 4 of these, and they could be anywhere from cheap side, $5,000, top end. I've seen some 10, 12 grand per gun. See, and that's 171 millimeter mag.
Okay.
So you can fit 29, 30, depending on the spring and follower combination in there.
Well, that whole 9mm major thing, I would guess that probably came from Keanu Reeves as the weapon consultant because he's a competitive shooter. So
absolutely. I
bet a lot of what I remember, like in John Wick 2, when he's going through the caves, he's basically doing like a 3-gun run, with his AR and his shotty and his pistol. So yeah.
If you look at some slow-mos of this, and I've shot a couple of these as well. You know how whenever you shoot, you get that recoil that's vertical? On these, and anybody out there that's shot a red dot, how the red dot leaves your glass then comes back into the glass?
Yeah.
A properly set up open gun, your red dots will not leave the glass during the recoil.
Okay.
And it's not a vertical push. It is a push straight back. You feel it in your chest when you hit it. Most people run dual ear pros because comps. You're working that comp so hard, and they run a bushing barrel just like a 1911, and usually that bushing will run out. Will have to be replaced within 10,000 rounds.
Here's one for Squib. There you go.
Yep, the open Glocks. Those are interesting.
With all the Zev stuff tacked onto it.
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
I think it's a concept. I don't think this is real. I think this is just something
That
that's
is a very real gun.
Real gun.
Oh, never mind. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry, because it looks like a really bad Photoshop.
Glock also makes shovels and knives. Maybe I'll just settle for one of those.
The Glock knives are nice. I got one. It's freaking awesome, dude. It's a great little. The Glock knife is awesome because it doubles as a bayonet for a Steyr AUG, by the way, which means I should probably pick up a Steyr AUG now because I've already got a bayonet for it. So
yeah, a lot of these are your. Oh, there's a CZ top left.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, that's the CZ's offering. I mean, you look at these guns. These are, that's probably a 5-inch barrel with a comp.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, you want as much gas in these guns to work that comp. That's why it's a 9 plus P plus plus plus. I mean, you're running a 9. So an average 9mm is 32 to 36,000 psi. These open guns are running like 85 to 90,000 psi.
Jeez,
like getting there to rifle caliber pressures.
That is insane, man.
That's like Magnum rifle pressures. That's
it's a proof load every time you.
Good grief! My 300 Win Mag operates at around 65 to 70,000 psi.
Yeah, so a guy that I know, he runs open gun about 2 hours north of here, and he has to run. Well, number one, he runs a compressed load, but he has. So everyone knows about how deep a 9mm case is on the inside after they shot one. Yep. He has less than a millimeter left of just powder before he puts his bullet in.
Oh God. That's some crazy stuff, man. That's an interesting caliber. I think we'll talk about 9mm Major next week. I think we need to just kind of look into it and see what kind of guns are out there and what we know about the loading and ammo availability.
Ammo availability?
It's
specialties.
Okay.
Go ahead, Klein.
So the thing I thought was cool about the 38 Super was, like, back in the day, that was like the cartridge to have. Like, the FBI had it, all the gangsters had it, and whatever in like the 20s and 30s. And the reason they did it is because it would punch through any bulletproof vest that was available back then. So
speed kills.
Whenever people are like, "Man, that's an underpowered round," I don't know what they're talking about. Like you were saying earlier.
Oh, yeah. Well, they said 38 Super back in the 20s. It would defeat the whatever body armor they had available back in that era, and also go through their door panels on their cars and stuff too. So yeah. I mean, those are, that was heavy steel that they made car doors out of back in the day. I mean, that was not like lightweight aluminum and polymer. Yeah.
A 9mm will go through that car as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But compared to what people were using before,
Well, they were doing it at 45, and 45 doesn't like to go through cars.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a gentle push. I mean, it's just like anything. Nowadays, you want small round that's going really fast to get through body armor. That's the same thing as back then. You push a smaller round that still has some mass behind it. Fast enough, it's gonna go through armor.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and call it. I think it's almost 7:30, and we got to get ready for the Guns and Geeks podcast this evening. So I think we're going to go ahead and let it go. Just a reminder that Caliber Corner is coming back Saturday morning at 8 a.m. starting this coming Saturday, and I'll post the topic tomorrow or the next day. And I promise you guys, I will try my best to get out to the range in the next couple of days and test out the AKV. I've got the mags all ready to go, all loaded up with sport shooters ammunition. Yeah. And we'll put a few rounds down the range and just kind of see how out of the box reliability is and the accuracy and all that stuff. Get her all cleaned up and stuff, and I'm pretty happy with it right now. So, but let's go and let the panel close things out here, and we'll see who's joining in on the YouTube side and go ahead and call it. So, Foos, we'll go ahead and start off with you. Anything you want to say before we go?
I'm looking at 13,000 rounds boxed up.
Yeah, I need a couple thousand. So, yeah. Right. And we'll talk about those dates of delivery here soon too. So, all right, because we're getting there. Okay.
4 weeks away, 5 weeks away.
Sweet. Should be good. Should be good stuff. All right. Let's see. Squib, anything we say before we go?
Yeah, where's the mute button? Thanks for the
Sorry.
invite and
Yeah.
interesting topics tonight. A little bit different. You know, well, I mean, we do talk prepping from time to time. I kind of like it when you bring it up. It gives me something to think about. I hope it gives some other people to think about. Somebody made a comment about, you know, how many people are going to learn from this experience and become preppers. I think we'll get a few new preppers. I think overall, though, most people are slobs and they'll go back to living their slob life. So for those of us who would have been preppers anyhow, this is a really good exercise. And I'm trying to glean something positive out of all the negative that's come out of this. And 38 Super is kind of an interesting round. Eventually I'd like to have something chambered in it, but it's really low on the want list, but I've got the ammo for when I do get it.
Cool. All right, man. Good stuff. Pat Hirsch, anything you want to say before we go?
No, just thanks for having me on tonight, and definitely interesting conversation. And it also reminds me I need to go back and look at my loadout bag because I haven't for a month because I've been in the field.
Oh yeah.
And just good conversation as always.
Cool. All right, and Rich White, anything you would say before we go?
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Sorry I didn't get too much in on the prepper conversation, and then. When you started talking about 38 Super, my daughter called from over at Walmart, so I didn't get a chance really to talk too much on that one either.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, 38 Super is an interesting cartridge. If you got the money and whatnot to get into that, I mean, it's not a bad round. It's 357 SIG before there was 357 SIG. If you want to, or 40 Smith & Wesson before there was 40 Smith & Wesson. It's in that same power range when you get to that.
So if you really want to think about it, you can think of the difference between 38 special and 357 mag, and that's the difference between a 9 and 38 super.
It's good comparison.
Yeah.
All right, and avid waterfowler, anything you want to say before we go, John?
You know, man, it was a good chat. I just kind of listened in on this one.
Don't worry about it. Cool. Good to have you here, man. And go ahead. Okay.
No, I was just saying thanks.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. And AWAG, anything you would say before we go?
First off, thanks for the invite. It's always a pleasure. Had a great chat. I like was said earlier, as I just kind of listened in, just to kind of absorb what people have to say. Normally I like throwing my input with certain things, but if I don't necessarily know anything about a certain subject, I won't say a thing about it.
Well, I didn't know a whole lot about 38 Super before I did some research on it because it's not really a priority caliber for me, but it's interesting to find out a little bit about it and see what, a lot of people don't realize it's such a heavily used caliber in competition, and see what.
Yeah, and how insane the pressures are, that when it comes to like numbers, that kind of stuff like fascinates me. But seeing a pistol caliber go to like 90,000 PSI in a handgun, it's just like, oh my gosh, how haven't somebody died yet?
No, I'm talking. That's 9mm major.
9mm major, yeah, but still, just a barrel that can handle that kind of pressure.
Still, listen to the way he talks about that. It's the engineer in him. Could you imagine if you got Tim and Calaveras together? Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm just like I've seen. I pulled the trigger on them. Those open guns that could shoot both. It's craftsman. It's someone really has to know what the heck they're doing with a gun to be able to get those things running.
Well, the quality and engineering of the metallurgy. Yeah.
Basically, think of those race guns as the Ferraris or McLarens or whatever of our times. Like ragged edge, utterly unreliable because they're trying to get every inch of performance out of it.
Yeah. All right. And Gizzard Gary.
Well, I learned a lot today. I didn't contribute to the conversation so much, but I learned a lot. And it's just a shame I see that 38 Super Partisan finally popped in the chat, but he would have really enjoyed that. So I hope he goes back and watches it all, because I think a 38 Super, that's the first person I think of right there. So anyway, thanks for the invite. It's a great show.
No problem, man. Cool. All right. And last but not least, Klein Knives. Anything you want to say before you head out, buddy?
Yeah, I like how you're moving your chat back to whenever it used to be, which is
Saturday mornings?
Sometime in the middle of Saturday morning. I will never be able to come see this again, but
you might want to wake up for it. I'm going to start making phone calls to Yoder, Texas to wake them up so I can wake you up too if you need a wake-up call. We're in the same time zone. All three of you guys are. So two of you guys are.
He's going to still be up.
Maybe I'll still be up some morning, and then I'll just come on like behind.
Well, it's just it's one of those things where I'm going to have to free up the week once school starts, and
yeah,
it's just I like that time slot because there's not a lot of shows on at that point. It's good to be there for people that have a whole day's worth of work to do, or they want to get up and listen to something while they're getting ready, or got to head out on the road. So, what
time is it?
8 a.m. Central Time.
Okay.
So it's early, and it's going to be earlier for people that are out west and stuff. But it's I just kind of take it for what it is. And I don't mind doing these on a Monday night; they're great. But the whole idea behind this was I just needed to free up that Saturday morning because I was always going to be on the road, and kind of want to take it back to where it was because there's a lot of people that work that shift or getting off of work, and
and if it wasn't for the woman, you never would have had to change it to Monday.
This is true. This is true. So anywho, all right. So let's see who is watching this evening. Who's out there? We've got a little G23. M. Gabriel's out there. 38 Super Partisan. Let's see, Gizzard Gary, Ghost Shadow. See, E Honda 720's out there. E Honda says, I've been living off my preps for 10 weeks now. And again, it just shows, if you've got them, you might as well go ahead and use them, right?
I think we should shout out the Gay Prog chat while we're here too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Did anyone get into their preps?
I didn't have to because I was still able to get enough canned goods and things like that. No, I didn't get that bad for me, but I mean, if I would have been like, everybody would have had to stay in the house. So you got till midnight tomorrow to get your stuff, and then everybody's on lockdown, some kind of like martial law thing. It could have got bad for us, but I mean, not bad, but like I would have had to go into the buckets. I didn't. I mean, I was good, but
I did, but only to rotate out the old stuff and bring in the new stuff.
It's a good idea.
I'm so good.
I ate a couple Mountain House meals because I didn't want to go to a restaurant and also didn't want to have chicken and vegetables again. So
yeah. What's your take on the Mountain House? Is it good?
I love Mountain House. I don't like Wise Foods at all. I think their stuff's kind of meh, but the Mountain House stuff is good. If you've ever had anything on a submarine, that's the exact same stuff. Like it's all the Navy food.
Hey, submarine
I got
food
buckets
is
for
good
both,
food,
but I haven't
man.
tried. I haven't tried buckets,
yeah.
Let's just say
submarine
it's
food is
edible.
good food.
I like sub sandwiches. Does that count?
It's better than you would think. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than on a surface ship, that's for sure.
I've been adding to my preps. I actually got a couple cases of the Mountain House, but the Mountain House foods, but they are military contract overruns. So they're a little tiny bit less expensive, and they come packaged in they're vacuum packed instead of the big bags.
Yeah.
So they take up less space than your typical Mountain House meals. But I only got cases of chili mac, so that's all I have.
Man, chili mac with some sriracha, bro. You can go on that. I lived on that for months in college. Look at me. You'll be fine. You'll be plump and healthy. Plump and healthy, AWAG.
The chili mac and the beef stroganoff are like the two best ones.
That's it. That's all a person needs. You can mix in anything with it. It doesn't matter.
Well, you do that for a few days, then you go back to your rice and beans.
Hey, man.
Wait a minute. What was I thinking?
Just get your tongue with a different flavor.
True.
Yeah, and let's be honest, man. When the crap hits the fan, that chili mac is going to be currency. Everybody's going to be wanting that stuff.
So are bottles of sriracha and tapatio.
Tapatio today, actually.
Yeah, I got multiple bottles of that Cholula. I got that going on. I've got Yucateco. Yeah.
So if you're not used to that stuff and it should hit the fan situation and you have it, you're going to be blowing your O-ring out.
No, I'm conditioned to it, man. My O-ring's fine. All right, and going back to closing out here, we got the Juice defense dad. We took over from, Marco Dunn, Yoder, Texas out there tonight. Let's see, who else is watching? E Honda, I mentioned him. Andy was chatty this evening. You guys were all talking up a storm. Fluffy 10mm Jeep guys, Southpaw, RX in the house. Gizzard Gary, Blitz is out there, Poor Conservative, Vanessa Kitty, 402 Outdoorsman. Ronald Robertson's out there watching. Was watching. Artisan Tony, always in giving us his wisdom. Rafael Morales was out there too. Rafael's got a quick question. I have a question. Seeing what's happening, would you reconsider where you live right now? Rafael, I got to tell you, buddy, I miss living in a rural area just because I had strong connections out there, and I like the fact that I could get out of town, so to speak. You don't have the millions of people around you or the hundreds of thousands of people around you, but I'm also happy where I am because I've got a little more access to immediate resources, and I like that. So I guess I wouldn't consider moving personally. I'm pretty happy where I am right now, but let's see. Anybody else? Rich White was out there and over here. I think that's pretty much about it. If I miss anybody, I want to apologize. Poor Conservative. Kinky Sphincter's out there too. And Nice Strike. I saw Nice Strike out there. It appears the call-in feature is working nicely. Yeah, we're great. Hey, Jimmy Kimmel was watching. All right, there you go. And Gun Loving Grandpa. Okay, so guys, this has been Caliber Corner episode number 137, where we talked about community versus solo prepping, as well as 38 Super. Next week, we'll talk about 9mm Major. If you don't know what that is, you definitely want to watch. We'll probably throw another topic in there, too. You guys can always email me at thecalibercorner@gmail.com if you're interested in being on the show. Or if you've got a suggestion for a topic, you can always send it my way, and I'll add it to the list, and we'll try to get to it when we can. But in the meantime, I want you guys to have fun. I want you to be safe. And as you know, we will talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good week.
Bye, Alicia.
Adios, Alicia. Alicia, give me back my bottle of